Do you know what that's like? It's not nice at all.
The dark ether.
You sent us here, of all places?
Fuck you! Get your ass off my bus!
What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today what I have for you guys is another banger dual commentary focused all on Call of Duty 2020 Zombies. And yes, this is also an update in regards to the Victis remakes that were supposed to release in Black Ops 4 but are now presumably on hold until Call of Duty 2020, probably suffering the same fate as Modern Warfare 2 Remastered did for so many years. Now, I am of course joined by the man himself, the Gaming Revolution. Go ahead and say what's up.
The goats are back in Vietnam.
Now also be sure to hit that subscribe button down below and turn the bell notification on to ensure you never miss an upload. I also offer memberships here on my channel. The highest membership option grants you access to free merch, exclusive intel, and an early look at some of my upcoming bangers for the next few weeks. More information about these membership options is down below when you hit the join button, but there is quite a bit to talk about, from the Victis remakes, the storyline, classic perks, the gameplay mechanics, and some new information that TGR just got from his source. So he's going to go ahead and begin with some of the new information he's heard, and we'll go back and forth with some other points about COD 2020 Zombies.
So the first point that I want to go over for Call of Duty 2020 Zombies is my source that has been sending me a lot of information throughout Modern Warfare's life cycle, and prior to launch has been hinting that Tranzit is going to be within this year's Call of Duty, because he has actually sent me multiple winky faces when I've asked him about whether Tranzit is in this year's Call of Duty, and he has also sent me gifs of the Tranzit bus. So obviously Tranzit, Die Rise and Buried were probably going to release in Black Ops 4, and DK is going to explain that for you guys right now, but it seems like these maps have been pushed back, which is going to be interesting to see how exactly that plays out.
Now, what is exciting is that multiple verified sources have confirmed that these three remakes were put on hold in a similar way that Modern Warfare 2 Remastered was also put on hold. Even though Activision was contractually obligated to finally release Modern Warfare 2 Remastered, they did release it at a time that was probably most financially beneficial, and it's unfortunately during these rough circumstances with the virus. So when it comes to the three Victis remakes, they may end up changing their mind and dropping these maps at some point in the next few months to hype up Treyarch's next game. They could drop them in Black Ops 4, or they could announce them as a pre-order bonus, but all we do know is that the maps are finished and they are waiting for a good window to finally release them to everybody.
So yeah, like DK was saying, there is a possibility that we could see something similar to the Back in Black maps that we saw as a pre-order bonus for Black Ops 4. Essentially, you got early access to some remade maps inside of Black Ops 3 that were present in Black Ops 4. And since these maps were initially made in Black Ops 4, but maybe they will be coming in Call of Duty 2020 as well, we know that the Victis maps, Tranzit, Die Rise and Buried, were pretty much finished inside of Black Ops 4, even without leaks. We know this because obviously there's already a bunch of assets for these maps within the game. The entirety of Buried is inside of Blackout pretty much. We have the diner in Blackout, we have Ted, we have the Transit bus inside of Remnant, and a bunch of other stuff from Transit. We have all of the Victis characters in Tag der Toten, and we also have them in Blackout. So all of the fundamentals are already there for these Victis maps that unfortunately never ended up releasing, because it seems like Treyarch's plans got cut short because I guess the community didn't take to the game that well, unfortunately. So yeah, it seems like Transit is going to be an on-disc map for Call of Duty 2020 Zombies, or at least that is what pretty much a lot of my sources have been alluding to, but I don't really know how exactly that is going to play out or work.
Now, storyline wise, dropping the three Victis remakes inside of Call of Duty 2020 may not make much sense, since everything we have heard about COD 2020 Zombies up until this point doesn't really support the idea of seeing a continuation past the events of Tag der Toten. But as I've been saying for a while, maybe they'll just be there as a bonus of some sort to boost sales and won't be connected to whatever new story Treyarch is going to be telling with the next Zombies iteration. I was also thinking about how next generation consoles could even affect these maps. What if, you know, the maps are not available on PlayStation 4 in COD 2020, but if you buy the game on PlayStation 5, an incentive would be 3 bonus zombie maps. There's always a possibility that they lock things like that behind some type of PlayStation incentive based on the fact that Sony still has the exclusivity deal for Call of Duty going forward. Now, it's also a bit fishy that quite a few content creators have also been sharing a few whispers around the community that Tranzit may be an on-disc experience for this next Call of Duty. But that begs the question, what happens to Die Rise and Buried? Will they be pushed back as different bonuses, as DLC throughout the season? We just don't know, but the map being on disc is certainly a possibility, but there's always the case that it's added later on throughout the year. Now, I don't think they'll ever do 4 maps on disc again, but I think maybe it's possible we could see 2 maps on disc for this Call of Duty, 1 map taking place in the new storyline with new mechanics, going in a new direction for the franchise, while the second map on disc could be a fan favorite remake, once again just to boost those sales for Activision. And as a bit of a safety net, throughout the DLC season, while they release new maps featuring new gameplay mechanics and changes to the fundamentals of zombies, they can release Die Rise and later Buried, right, to please both sides of the community, right, OGs who love a lot of the old experiences and older maps, and then also pleasing the new part of the community that really does like the new changes that come with Call of Duty 2020 Zombies. Now, if they went that route, that would perfectly remind me of how Black Ops 3 was handled, because Shadows of Evil brought a lot to the table in terms of changes to the fundamentals of zombies. Alongside Shadows of Evil, they released The Giant, right, a classic map featuring a classic style of gameplay.
So what do we know about Call of Duty 2020 Zombies thus far? Unfortunately, it is quite vague. I did hear that we are going to be seeing returning perks and the Pack-a-Punch, and I did hear that Zombies is apparently very different to before, and the maps are apparently larger now, and there's a lot more doors and barriers, but other than that, I didn't really hear much. However, there is a guy called Victor over on Twitter who obviously leaked a bunch of stuff that came true for Modern Warfare that there is no way that he could guess, but he has been saying some stuff over on Twitter in Chinese. Now, I have translated them from Chinese to English, so there is a bit of a communication error, so we could be misinterpreting his tweets a little bit, but let's go through what he has been saying about Zombies. So he tweeted out saying the plot description of the campaign is similar to the Black Ops series, the multiplayer is also similar to the previous Call of Duty. Zombies has new ways of playing, which is similar to what I had heard. It suits him very well. He said he doesn't like finding Easter eggs on the maps. He then said Zombies has new gameplay, but it doesn't mean to give up the old gameplay. So it seems like despite this game being changed a lot and having a lot new, they're still going to retain some of the old stuff that we're used to within past Treyarch Zombies title. Well, anyways, Victor seems to have heard similar information because Jake asked him over on Twitter saying, does this mean that a lot of gameplay will remain the same? Can I have some good news on what's gone and what's staying? Please say Juggernog, because obviously in Black Ops 4, they drastically changed the perk system. A lot of people didn't like it, some people did like it. Personally, I didn't mind it that much. I think the hate was a bit too over the top, but a lot of people want to see those classic perks return, such as Juggernog, because of that nostalgia. And Victor said, the game has not been announced yet, it is too early to discuss these things. However, he said, with a whisper emoji, good news, which could potentially hint that, yes, Juggernog is back, so there might be a lot of classic things returning within this Zombies installment, even if it is quite different.
So with that being said, this does 100% confirm that hardcore Zombies fans will get to experience that nostalgia once again when Treyarch's next iteration of Zombies does come out, with the classic perks returning and hopefully a classic Pack-a-Punch system as well. Due to the backlash of Black Ops 4, it doesn't seem like anything from that iteration of Zombies will be returning in the next game, but that is of course all subject to change by time the game releases. But with that being said, maybe the classic perks being in this game could be the connection from this new story back to the old storyline. There could be this new rebooted universe that Samantha and Eddie walked into at the end of Tag Their Toten, and maybe the classic perks are kind of a connection to the old Ether story we all know and love. And with that being said, that could be the bridge to the gap between the Victis remakes and this new iteration of Zombies, right? The new Victis remakes could take place in the classic Ether universe as a bit of a bonus from Activision, right, to boost sales, but maybe they don't necessarily affect the new storyline in too many ways. Or maybe there's the other side of things where maybe these Victis maps do take place in the new universe that we set up after the events of Tag Their Toten, and then we'll go on from there. Now, whether these maps take place in the Dark Ether is of course unknown, but that's of course what we all felt was set up, not only with the ending of Tag, but also with the telephone over on Classified, where Stuhlinger is calling Richtofen, asking why they were sent to a place they've been to before, and it almost seems like they were sent to Green Run in that phone call, and that phone call was never really followed up on in the events of Black Ops 4 Zombies DLC season. So either that was part of some type of scrapped ending, for DLC 3 and 4, or it is a part of something that we haven't seen just yet. Classified does seem to tease quite a bit of content that we just haven't seen, right? We have the ray gun Mark IV and Mark V over on Blueprints down in the lab. We have some really weird classified information, no pun intended, about Vietnam and the campaign storyline, which TGR can go into more depth about right now.
So yeah, on Classified, there are the Pack-a-Punch blueprints that pertain to the campaign. Now we know that the campaign and the zombie storyline take place in the same multiverse. Obviously in every single universe, the events are going to happen somewhat differently, but by the time you're seeing this video, I've already posted a full video explaining these blueprints in depth, which will be linked down in this video's description. But the thing is, obviously Classified is set during the Cold War, the setting of Call of Duty 2020, so I definitely think that this stuff could have been hinting at the future storyline. Now I won't go too in depth, but there's a lot of stuff on these blueprints pertaining to a big red X marked over Vietnam, and interestingly enough, there is even an image of Mason with the numbers around his head. However, his eyes have a big black line rubbed through it, and weirdly enough, his character bio isn't actually matching Mason's. Instead, his character bio is that of Dmitry Petrenko, who was Victor Reznov's close friend and playable character in World at War. So I have no idea as to why Alex Mason's picture is here. I really do not know, but it definitely could tie into the campaign maybe, because I've been hearing that this game is going to be some sort of soft reboot / Black Ops spin-off. But the thing is, these images also reference a ton of zombie stuff. For example, this image on screen references the mission Project Nova from the campaign. However, it mentions 115 being on the ship, so maybe Reznov did not die all along, and all of the people on the ship that we thought died, and they might have been reanimated by 115.
So overall, there are quite a few possibilities with where they can take zombies in the next Call of Duty. We have 3 Victis maps that are apparently on hold, similar to how Modern Warfare 2 Remastered was on hold for so many years. We have these weird documents over on Classified hinting at this whole other arc with Mason, Reznov, Petrenko, Woods, that could be explored more upon. We have the tweets from Victor talking about this new iteration of zombies that has a lot of new gameplay and new mechanics, but still containing a lot of the old mechanics we all know and love. And then on top of that, the tip of the iceberg is something we went over a couple of weeks ago, and that is the scrapped DLC 3 for Black Ops 1. Instead of Shangri-La, we were going to be going to Vietnam, and Woods would have probably been a playable character. We even have a poster of Woods featured on a zombies map, and that poster is located over at Raven Software. We then had a massive amount of photos that were posted in regards to this scrapped Vietnam Zombies DLC, featuring the enemy types, the bosses, some of the atmosphere of the map, you know, the storyline with Agent Orange. So that could even be touched upon too in this next game. They can take assets and concepts that were done for Black Ops 1 that were never used and utilize them now in this new iteration of zombies going forward that may or may not be connected to whatever new campaign we also see in the next game. Now, before I end this video, I wanted to dive into something that I'm not going to make a separate video about. I figured I would briefly go over this at the end of this video. So this image popped up about, I want to say, a week ago or so, and it was clickbaited as Bus Route B from the original Tranzit, and I was scratching my head. I'm like, wait a second, is there actually an image of Bus Route B from Black Ops 2? Does that actually exist? So I reached out to a couple of data miner buddies of mine who have plenty of experience going through the files of Black Ops 2, and they told me that this image has actually been in the hands of the community for quite some time now. It was actually, coincidentally, publicly posted on Reddit about 200 days ago as well. But what I will say is that a newer version of this image with the main menu HUD was recently data mined. Not that it makes a huge difference or anything, but I was also told by verified insiders that this image is not of Bus Route B. It's actually from a different layout that Tranzit was going to have. So as I said before in a couple of other videos, Treyarch's original plan for Tranzit was to include 2 different versions, right? One version is the one we have now with the lava post-moon, and they would have had a different version of Tranzit that was pre-moon. The map would have looked pretty, no lava, no fog, and there was of course a different route for the bus, as you can see over at the town. The reason I bring this up in this video is because this is exactly how the Tranzit remake could work. They could take the other version of Tranzit they never got to flesh out and make that the remake in either Black Ops 4 or Black Ops 5, right? A pretty version of Tranzit without all the BS that was originally going to be in Black Ops 2, but the images of course from the alpha build of Black Ops 2 a couple of months before the release of the game. So I'm curious if they'll ever flesh that out in the future, but as I was also told by verified insiders, Bus Route B is a legitimate Easter egg in the Tranzit remake that we'll eventually get to see, so fingers crossed for an exciting Easter egg or side Easter egg at some point soon. soon. But as always, leave all your thoughts down below in the comment section. You want to see more duel commentaries like this? We will, of course, keep you up to date with latest and greatest Black Ops 4, Black Ops 5, and Warzone news and information. And
thank you for watching the video. Make sure to subscribe if you're not for the latest and greatest Call of Duty news and information. So anyways, thank you for watching, and
bye.